Floyd Mayweather's 50-0 is greater and better than Ray Robinson's 129-0.
Conversations like this, unlike barbershop talk. Welcome to my channel where I peacefully disturb your illusion where the truth only hurts when you live a lie. They all will fall in the round I call. Before we throw the ad hominems, just hear me out. Saying Floyd was more impressive than Sugar Ray Robinson, I call cap, and I'm gonna tell you why. Most people think of it like this, of how Sugar Ray Robinson would have adapted today, and I don't think they factor in a lot of the things when they say what they say. Let's play both sides of the spectrum. Let's put Floyd Mayweather back in Sugar Ray Robinson days, and let's just see how he would have did, you know, in that time. Speculation, because we ultimately don't know, but we can only go based off, you know, data, studies, and stuff like that. Not saying Floyd wouldn't have did well, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is there would have been a greater chance that he would have had a loss on his record if he was fighting back in the day, and I'm gonna tell you why. Back then, fights was way more in demand. You had to really be fighting. Literally, you be fighting an opponent, and then you'll be fighting an opponent a week or two after that. Medicine wasn't as great, and recovery was way much shorter. Back in those days, you had to fight people 5 or 6 different times, which you will understand why a lot of Floyd's Mayweather toughest opponents did get rematches, because in that particular time, your opponent would eventually figure you out. That's why I've always encouraged not to really fight your sparring partners, because they know how you fight. Now just imagine if him and Pacquiao would have had a trilogy, or him and Oscar De La Hoya would have had a trilogy, which came up to a split decision, and Zab Judah and all these different people. Some of his toughest fights never got rematches, and we wanted rematches. I think Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather had a rematch clause, and then Floyd Mayweather retired for a whole year to get out of it. Damn, he was running outside of the ring too. My bad, I'm not trying to shit on nobody. Like I said, back in those days, you had to literally fight way more. That short recovery time, and you got to factor in Floyd had, you know, damage, you know, to his hands, so it wasn't as efficient as when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. So just imagine getting into the ring with somebody who's fresh and you got a few concussions, and if you're fighting way more, that means you're going to be absorbing way more punches than you would do in a span of 50-0 with a whatever many year career. Floyd's still been great, absolutely, but he runs more of a risk of actually losing a lot more fights. I know people want to say, oh, they was fighting electricians and bus drivers and all these different things, but he's still human. He still bleeds. I mean, there's still a puncher's chance. I mean, training was more gruesome. I mean, hell, back then, even in certain gyms, you know, you didn't have ACs and headphones and all this other shit. Today's gyms are cozy compared to the gyms of old. So, and there was also less weight classes back then. So if he wanted to conquer more weight classes, he would have had to fight legitimate middleweights, which he would literally have to jump up to legitimate classes. The shoulder roll works for people your size, so just imagine you going up outside of your frame to get a belt. People that are way bigger and stronger than you, they're cracking that shell. We're talking about Floyd Mayweather coming up in that time. You know, for him to get as good as he did is because of modern medicine, more recovery time. That helps the record. Not to mention, we not gonna sit here and play like timing didn't play a factor in all this, fighting certain fighters at the right time. So it was more emphasis on fighting, and I think that's what makes Sugar Ray Robinson a little bit more impressive, because he went 89-0, I believe, and with less recovery time. The medicine wasn't as great as it was, and it was just more gruesome at the time. Let's talk about how Sugar Ray Robinson would have done in this time. You're talking about somebody who would have had to adapt to fighters these days, better medicines. Sport has evolved, so you would have had better sparring partners. Somebody back then who went 89-0 with less recovery time, when the medicine wasn't as great, you think he would not have adapted to this particular time? Now you can literally cherry pick your opponents damn near if you want to. And to say that Floyd's resume is way more impressive, that's fucking out of the box. Let's talk about Floyd's resume for a second. His last 2 fights was Berto and McGregor, I believe. He admitted in the fight that Berto was a Class B fighter. You didn't, so that means there were top ranking fighters at the time and you did not fight them. As a matter of fact, your 50-0 came from somebody who wasn't even a boxer. Looking at it like through a lens, it looks good, but when we start to dissect these parts, we understand that maybe they ain't so great. He talks shit about Ali. Talk about how Ali lost against somebody with 7 fights, but Ali lost to somebody who was an Olympian champion on his way out the door. speech was already slurred. Did you notice Floyd never mentions Ali when he was in his prime, when he was dancing for 15 rounds? He doesn't mention Ali during the Cleveland Williams era and the Ernie Terrell, Sonny Liston. He don't mention Ali in those particular times. He only mentions Ali when he was on his way out the door. So in my book, no, I think Floyd, as he would say, is a hell of a fighter. But what I put Floyd as the GOAT? No. And do I think that his resume was more impressive than Sugar Ray Robinson? Hell no. I don't think Floyd would have had the same look back in the day as he do today. Fewer weight classes, less recovery times, having to fight the same person 6 times, eventually sooner or later that person is gonna learn how you fight. And we know this because look at Tank. He literally had a draw. Well, technically we know he lost, but he technically lost to his sparring partner. Ali lost to his sparring partner, Larry Holmes. This is something that we see throughout the course of history. So imagine if we would have got 2 more fights from Floyd versus Oscar De La Hoya. What if we got 2 more fights against Floyd and Manny Pacquiao? We got 2 more fights against Zab Judah and Floyd, which he technically got knocked down in that fight because his glove touched the canvas, and nobody counted that though. He's a polished champion. You're the champion. But saying that he's the GOAT, and I will honestly say this, in my opinion, the person that is literally the GOAT is the person that would be undisputed at least once. So if you're not undisputed, that literally means you left other potential fighters on the table. You went to a weight class, you collected a belt, and you jumped into a whole nother one. So you literally left fighters on the table because you've never unified the belts. So yeah, if you're asking my opinion, and like I said, it's just my opinion, I would argue that Sugar Ray Robinson does have the more impressive record based off what he had to do in his time, how many times he had to fight, and with shorter recovery times, poor medicines, and all the things he had to go through. He went 89-0 with that. I don't know, I'm just, I know I'm young like everybody else and shit like that, but I'm a little smarter not to fall for the recency bias.